The topic of what we're talking about today is driving team performance through a culture of high trust. A lot of people think that when you have trust in an organization, that it's just inherent, that it's just there. It's not something you really need to work on, that people just see it, they feel it, and it occurs. But we're going to spend a lot of time today. I'm going to give you about 20 minutes of content on what you can do to drive better performance by increasing the culture of trust in your organization. Before I do that, I want to just share a little bit about what MPH coaching is about. My name is Matthew Hoffman. I'm the principal at MPH Coaching. You can see my mission statement that is up here right now. MPH Coaching is committed to empowering business executives, leaders, managers, and team members to unlock their full potential and achieve unparalleled success in their careers by mastering the 14 key relationship pillars in business. You will not only elevate your leadership skills, but also inspire your teams and drive your company to extraordinary new heights. So we're focused in particular today on one pillar. And as you can see, I've got 14 pillars that are up here. And today we're focusing on trust and honesty. This is the fourth pillar that came after commitment, communication, and conflict resolution, what I call the 3 C's. So how important it is to have trust and honesty. So I'm going to share a little something with you right now, a little cartoon, and tell me if this resonates with any of you. You're looking at the resume, you're looking at the person in your company, and you're looking at how they're carrying themselves and what they're expressing, and you say, but can I trust them? And this is a question that leaders and managers and company owners and entrepreneurs are asking themselves all the time. They like what they see, but they have concerns. So this is what we're going to do in the next 20 minutes to an hour. We're going to talk about what we can do, what you can do to drive your team performance through a culture of high trust. This workshop, I call it a workshop because I'm going to be giving you information and you're going to be able to ask questions, bring up things that you might be experiencing in your business, in your company, or struggles you might be having, and we're going to work through them. We're really targeting business leaders, managers, and executives, anybody who's in a business situation or scenario right now. And what's the objective? I want you to learn replicable systems that allow you to build trust and drive organizational results. And if you do any of these strategies we talk about today, that's exactly what you're going to be able to achieve. So let's get into it. What is the ROI of organizational trust? So before we dive into what the frameworks are, let's kind of get alignment. Let's get an agreement on what trust means in a business or corporate setting. It's not just about liking each other. It's really more about predictability, safety, and accountability. When trust goes up, speed goes up, and costs go down, because trust acts as a multiplier for team output. It slows down decision-making and increases cost when there isn't a high level of trust. High trust accelerates execution and fosters innovation. And trust is built really over time. It's through replicable, systematic behaviors. And some of those behaviors you're going to learn about today. I'm excited to share with you what you can do. So let's get into that. The first pillar that we're going to really talk about today is psychological safety. And here's the shift. The shift is moving from asking who did this in your company to why did this happen? So we're stepping away from the culture of blame, because when we get into that area of blame, people get nervous, they clam up, and they don't want to participate and be part of the solution. When we're using blameless post-mortems, that means after everything's happened, we're going and saying, why did this happen and what's going on? It means your team will stop hiding mistakes and start solving them because they know it's a safe place to do it. They're not going to get penalized. They're not going to lose their job. And then what happens is you get a much more engaged workforce because people know they can be part of the solution and be more proactive about problem solving because your culture encourages it and rewards it. So that's the first pillar. You got to create an atmosphere of safety, because if people fear if they speak up, they're going to be hurt, damaged, called out, they're not going to do it. So you got to set the environment and make people able to be open and honest and involved in the decisions. The second pillar we're going to talk about is radical transparency. So as leaders, you can learn how to shift from hoarding information, meaning I don't think they need to know about it. I don't think we need to share this with them. I don't think we need to educate our people about all the things that are going on in the organization. Instead, if as a leader, you focus on how can I best share context? In other words, the work they're about, the projects that we're doing, why are they key to the success of the company? And what does success look like? Meaning, what do you want the outcomes to be? When you build systems like transparent KPI dashboards, key performance indicators, that means when everybody knows what does success look like in your company? What are the mile markers, the waypoints, the things that the bogeys that we should be hitting and making happen in the company? When people know what those things are, they can make executive level decisions autonomously because they have the right idea, they know where they need to go, and they know what is being measured with them. So they have the context, right? And the takeaway here really is that faster, highly aligned decision making at all levels of the business is going to lead to greater success. I want to share with you a great quote from Eli Goldratt. He said, "Tell me how you're going to measure me, and I'll tell you how I will behave. If you measure me in an illogical way, don't complain about illogical behavior." So when you provide information, you give the framework, people know what their targets are and what you're measuring and how to get there. They then know how they need to act and what they need to do to produce the desired result. And that's really where the magic starts to happen. So when you think about KPI, key performance indicators, does everybody in your organization know what the goals are, how they're being measured, what they should be doing, the outcomes they're trying to get, the destination of the projects, of what they want the results to be? If everybody's clear about that, then it's a lot easier to make sure they're going in the right direction. And that's going to lead real naturally to our next important pillar, which is number 3, empowered accountability. That's what the final pillar is. And if you can stop managing the process, right? Micromanaging, this is how you need to do it, and really hard leaning on people to do things the way you think they need to be done. If you stop managing the process and start managing the outcomes, let people have a really clear picture of where they need to go, if there's cost parameters or time parameters you're shooting for, but just set the clear expectations and then step back. Give them the power to determine and take true ownership of the problem, of the process, and what's going on. Because really, that's going to result in a scalable, self-managing culture. Your job as a leader and a manager is not to make people do what you want them to do. It's to let them know what the goal is, to provide resources and support if and when they need it, and then get out of their way. And if they have questions or they want to bring you in for support or run something by you or make you part of their solution, that's the perfect time to step in, but not to solve the problems for them, but to enable them, support them, and give them what they need to be most successful. Because don't you really want to have a self-managing culture, one that's scalable based on what your people are able to do? Because you really want to move from you making it happen to your team making it happen through the resources, communication, and support they need. So When you hear people talk about autonomous execution, it doesn't mean it's happening within a vacuum. Because when you've done those other pillars and you've communicated the goals, you got the KPI, you've created the safe environment, and now you're empowering them to be accountable, it means you're saying you trust them and you want to see what they have to give to help get the company to where you want it to be. So you're really more of a resource person. You're there to facilitate and support instead of dictate and control. That's the difference of somebody who expresses and demonstrates trust in their organization and someone who just is not able to do that. So I'm going to share a little bit of a business case study with you where this work was actually done and put into place and what happened because of it. So the company profile is a mid-market SaaS, and SaaS is software as a service, software developer organization, and they were really facing a heavy degree of stagnation. Their sales growth had plateaued for 4 consecutive quarters. I mean, for a year, their sales growth was flat. They weren't growing. Their second challenge is they had high employee turnover, 25% on an annual attrition rate. So that means 25% of their people turning over. And the cost and inconvenience and loss of productivity there is huge. Their third challenge, they had siloed departments that lacked cross-functional collaboration, right? They were bleeding talent and losing market share. And what was happening, all the departments were pointing the fingers at each other and blaming somebody else for missing targets. So the root cause wasn't the product. It wasn't what they actually produced. It was a systemic lack of trust, getting in the way from them being successful, forming a cohesive team together, and getting the results they want. And the root cause of this, they had a deeply ingrained culture of fear and low trust. People got zapped, torn down, humiliated when they made a mistake or did something that didn't take the company in the right direction. So that's what was going on. Now let's look at what happens when they apply these 3 pillars in the company. It's really a transformation. So what action? The leadership deployed all 3 pillars of trust over the following 12 months. They achieved a 30% increase in year-over-year revenue. Okay, their sales went up. The culture, their attrition went from 25% down to 8% because people felt they were part of something. They felt heard, understood, valued, and appreciated, and it was safe to bring their ideas up and to try new things. Their operations got better too because their product delivery cycles accelerated, meaning it took them less time to produce what they needed to because they were working together. Sales, production, customer service. They weren't silos operating independently, but they created the bridges to work together and help solve each other's issues. So the results were undeniable. Their turnover plummeted, their cross collaboration soared, and sales grew by 30%. So a clear example here that trust directly drove the bottom line. So for anybody out there that says trust doesn't make a difference, it's a window dressing, that's just not the reality as based on this business case. So if you're able to think about how you can do those 3 things, how do you build a replicable system? So trust is a tangible asset that can be systematically built, right? High trust equals high performance. And when you implement all 3 of these pillars, you're not just improving morale, you're building a scalable, replicable system for sustainable company growth. These people learned how to adopt curiosity over blame. That means that's really the foundation. It's got to start with creating, as in pillar 1, I said, that psychological safety. They shared context to align the teams. That's like radical transparency. We're going to share with you what's going on. What are the bogeys, the targets? What do we need to be to have success? And then they managed the outcomes. They didn't do the micro task and have the micromanagement. So people felt a heavy hand on them, and they felt stifled in bringing their own ideas and solutions. They had empowered accountability. So all these three pillars, when paired together, create a sustainable competitive advantage, because the companies who aren't doing this are running into some of the same brick walls and limiting their growth and success. So you've heard about three pillars. The first one was psychological safety, creating the environment. The second was radical transparency. In other words, what are the KPIs? What do we need to measure? Where are we? And where do we need to be to get to be? And then the third, empowered accountability. We'll give you the resources, we'll give you the support. We're there as a sounding board or coach, but we want you to come together with your expertise and determine what's the solution to reach the KPI that we want to reach as an organization. And if anybody needed help along the way, management leadership is there to support that, but not micromanage it. So all three of these pillars applied together are what are really going to create that sustainable, competitive edge for you and your company. So if you want to transform your team, let's start with the same first basic question, because you now have the framework to unlock your potential and to lead your company with greater impact. Conflict is not a roadblock. It's not something to be afraid of. It's really the gateway to better communication, higher profitability, and a stronger organizational synergy. So we know you're committed to doing the work and investing in your growth. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here and you wouldn't be working in the company the way you are. So to help you integrate these cutting edge tools into your specific business context, I'm inviting you to claim a complimentary core energy session. And during this one-on-one time, we'll map out a personalized strategy to resolve your most pressing leadership bottlenecks with confidence. So I appreciate your time. I look forward to our live Q&A. If you're watching this recording, I would love to hear what questions you might have. And again, want to remind you about what that complimentary, you can scan the QR code that's on your screen right now or follow the link that's on the bottom. And you can sign up for your complimentary core energy session. There's no strings attached. There's no cost. I just want to show you the impact of what can happen when you work to have an impact on one issue that you'd love to see progress on in your business, in your organization, or with yourself. And so scan the QR code, grab the lead that's down there, and let's get together and talk. And if you have questions, you can email me at matthewphoffman.com. I'd love to talk to you and see what I can do to help. And also want to let you know that I do this every month, once a month. It's usually the first Thursday of the month at 2 p.m. And I want you to come back and join us for that next pillar, which will be patience. And how do you use patience to get more success in your business and your organization and with your people? And I'm going to leave you with one final thought today from this workshop, since there's no live questions right now. Exceptional outcomes are not a matter of chance. They're built with intention. So if you want to learn how to be more intentional and get the outcomes that you'd like to have versus the ones you're getting right now, scan the QR code, look at the link. Let's talk. You can go over to matthewphoffman.com, learn more about my core energy coaching and what I do. But I hope I get to speak to you soon and that you take advantage of this complimentary core energy session. I only do 10 of these a month. When they're full, and we get bumped to the next month. So don't put off now what you can do and get it done. Take the time, scan the code, get your complimentary session, and let me share with you the power of what core energy coaching can do for you. Thanks for your time. I look forward to speaking with you soon.